Hi everyone, I'm Courtney. This is Birdie's Intuitive Arts and Yoga, and this is a heart chakra flow adapted from Chakra Yoga by Anodea Judith PhD. She's one of my favorite authors. So the only thing you'll need for this flow is something comfy and a strap for some arm stretches. So otherwise, let's get started. Thank you for being here with me today. Find your comfy seat. You can use a blanket underneath the sits bones, or a block can help sometimes, or just find a nice grounded space on your mat. Begin to notice your breath without judgment or trying to change it in any way. Bring the left hand to the heart and the right hand to the abdomen, and begin to deepen the breath, noticing the rise and fall of the chest and the stomach. Soften the eyes or close them. And if you have an intention for today's practice, now is a good time to set your intention. Beautiful. When you're ready, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale. Sit up nice and tall and exhale out the mouth. Inhale. And exhale out the mouth. One more inhale. And exhale. Return to your normal breath. This chakra, heart chakra flow emphasizes moving with the breath. So try to bring awareness with the movement of the breath, and I'll guide you through this practice. Let's release our hands down to the mat. Exhale. Inhale, bring your hands all the way up. Drop the shoulders down, away from the ears, hands come together, and exhale, palms to heart center. Let's do two more of these. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Last one. Inhale. Maybe look up towards the fingertips. Maybe even climb your ladder or your rope or your vine, getting space in between the vertebra. And then exhale, palms to heart center. Beautiful. Now this flow also brings us to cow face pose and this strap stretch with the shoulders, somewhere in the middle of the flow, and I'd rather not do that here. So bring the strap up above your head and bring your arms as wide as you like. I generally like to start with these seated postures and opening the arms for the rest of the flow. So inhale, lengthen up through the spine. The jaw is tucked slightly so that we're long in the cervical spine as well. And then exhale, come over to the left and look up towards your right hand. Keep the chest nice and open. Your shoulders or your arms might want to go forward, or you might want to collapse in the lower back. Stay nice and lifted and let this bend come from your abdomen. Keep the knees down. Inhale, up. Exhale to the right. Look up towards the left fingertips. Arms are nice and straight, and the shoulders are away from the ears. It's okay if there's a bend in the arm, of course. Just feeling it out. Beautiful. Inhale up to center. This time exhale and bring the strap behind you as far as is comfortable. Keeping that lift in the chest. Big heart opener. Take a couple breaths here. Beautiful. Let the arms come down on the exhale and just feel the blood flowing through the arms and the heart space and the chest. Allow yourself to regulate, to come back to center. And then we'll bring the strap in the right hand and inhale, bring the right arm up. Left arm comes behind. Keep the left elbow underneath the left shoulder. And then on the exhale, drop the fingers towards each other. So the purpose of the strap here is to allow as much room as you need to bring the hands closer together. And if your shoulders want to roll forward or your chest wants to roll forward, we're hyperextending in the shoulders and we're also closing the heart space. So open the heart space. Keep that left elbow underneath the left shoulder. And maybe the fingertips come together into archer arms or Gomukhasana, cow face pose, which is often combined with the legs. And take a breath or two here. Maybe if you're comfortable, bring the head against the arm very gently. Open the chest a little bit more. Beautiful. And release. Again, come to center. Allow yourself to equalize here. And let's switch the cross of the legs since we're still seated. Find some symmetry in our practice. And if you're using the strap, even if you're not, it's good to start there because you never know how you're going to feel. Bring the strap up in the left hand this time. Inhale up. Right arm comes back. Keep the right elbow underneath the right shoulder. Exhale. Drop the fingers either to their closest meeting point or to meet. Inhale, lift the chest. Keep the knees grounded, the sits bones grounded. Sit up nice and tall. Breathing. Maybe the head pushes very gently into the arm behind you, your left arm. Beautiful. Release. Bring your hands to your knees. And we'll just do a couple shoulder shrugs. Inhale, bring the shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, squeeze them back and down like you're squeezing a pencil between your shoulders. A couple more of these. Inhale. Exhale. And switch directions. Beautiful. And it's likely you'll be seated cross-legged on your mat, facing the front of your mat. So from here, inhale and bring your hands up. And exhale, drop them to the mat. Just walk them forward. Keep the sits bones grounded and keep the length in the spine. So often we want to lift the chin and crunch in the back of the neck. Keep the chin tucked slightly and aligned in the back of the cervical spine. And then when you're ready, release and fold. Beautiful. Inhale and walk yourself back up. And then we'll plant our hands underneath the shoulders and come to tabletop. So in tabletop, the knees are planted directly underneath the hips. The tops of the feet are flat on the mat, nice and strong. Fingers are wide. Index fingers point forward. And the insides of the elbows or the eyes of the elbows face each other or the front of the room. Drop the tailbone. Bring the chest through the shoulders and inhale, look up, cow. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, round through the shoulders, chin to chest for cat. And take a couple of these. Inhale and exhale. And now we're getting into Anodea Judith's warm up. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. One more inhale. And exhale. And come back to your neutral spine. Tuck the toes. Inhale. Find length in the spine, and then exhale, engage the core. Bring the hips up towards the ceiling for our first downward facing dog. And in downward facing dog, the shoulders melt towards the spine and the heart is open towards the mat. Our head hangs in between our biceps and our feet are hip distance apart. Inhale, lift the heels up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, bring the heels a little closer to the mat. Keep the core engaged, melt the heart space down, and let the shoulder blades melt towards each other. So there's this nice internal rotation in the shoulders. Good. Bend the knees. Inhale, look towards the front of the mat. And baby step your way to our first forward fold. So for this first one, halfway lift when you get here. Inhale to a flat back position. And then keep a generous bend in the knees as you exhale and forward fold. Perhaps for this first one, you even bend your knees so much that your torso rests on top of the thighs. Let your head hang, clasp your elbows, and let yourself maybe sway side to side. Beautiful. Release the hands. Inhale, halfway lift to a flat back. You can have a block here to bring the floor up a little closer. Exhale, forward fold. Hollow out the belly. Straighten through the back of the legs a little bit more. Inhale, halfway lift. Open the arms and come all the way up to standing in mountain pose. Exhale, palms through heart center, and palms face the front of the room. So in mountain pose, our feet are hip distance apart. I like to lift all 10 toes and move my feet back and forth to find the four corners of my feet. And then drop your toes. The heels have a little bit of pressure going outward so that the thighs come into internal rotation. The knees are soft. Tailbone is tucked. Bring the shoulders, inhale up, back and down. Squeeze them together. And tuck the chin slightly. The palms are open, fingers are wide, and there's an invisible wall behind us. Strong mountain pose. Inhale, bring the arms all the way up. Exhale, waterfall, or keep the palms together in forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, let's step just the right foot back. Drop the right knee either to the mat or you can have a blanket to support your knee. Untuck the toes and inhale, bring the arms up like you're holding a big beach ball right up above you. Anjaneyasana. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Let the hips sink down and keep the low ribs in and down to allow for functional breathing. And on your next inhale, maybe lift the chest a little bit more. Find a slight back bend. And exhale, bring the hands down. Plant them on either side of the foot. Tuck the right toe. And bring the left foot back to meet the right. Plank pose. Beautiful. Let's hold here for just a moment. Nice flat back. And from here, you can take a vinyasa. So coming over the toes, exhale down chaturanga, half push up. Inhale up to upward dog. And then roll over the toes on the exhale to downward dog. Or you can go into a child's pose and push through, which we can demonstrate here actually. So go ahead and drop the knees. Exhale, come back into child's pose. And then bring the arms forward on the inhale. Come up to cat. And then go ahead and drop the chin. Push through. Inhale up, upward dog. Exhale into downward dog. And I think I said you untuck the toes at the wrong time. You untuck the toes when you go into upward dog. Something felt funny there. Beautiful. Bend the knees, look towards the front of the mat, and let's just step the right foot forward. Drop the left knee, untuck the toes. Inhale up, Anjaneyasana. Nice space between the hands. Fingers are nice and wide, and the chest is lifted. And it's always tempting to collapse into the low back here. So instead, find the middle line. The inner thighs are active. Your low belly is active, and we're lifting up out of the chest, keeping the low ribs down. Nice flush core for functional breathing. Exhale, good. Plant the hands, tuck the left toes, left foot comes up to meet the right. Halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Open the arms, come all the way up. Exhale, palms to heart center. And let's just step the right foot back for warrior one. So the right foot is at a 45-degree angle, and we're super strong in the top of the thigh here and the outer edge of the right foot. Both hips are facing forward, so if you need to put the left foot over one effort, you can. Bending in the left knee, which is stacked over the left ankle to support our joints. Again, core is nice and strong. Lifting up in this long line of energy, bring the hands up above your head. Keep the outside of that right foot nice and strong. Soft in the front left toes. And drop the shoulders away from the ears. Beautiful. Inhale, look up. And then exhale, bring the palms to heart center. And we're just going to step the right foot up to meet the left. Inhale, arms come all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Flat back. Exhale, forward fold. From here, plant your hands and step or hop or float back to your plank. Optional chaturanga. So coming over, exhale halfway down. Inhale up, up dog. Our toes are now untucked and the knees are up off the floor. Exhale, roll over the toes, downward dog. And inhale, look towards the front of the mat and step forward into your halfway lift. Forward fold on the exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Open the arms, come all the way up. Exhale, palms to heart center. Tadasana. Inhale, arms come up. Exhaling, palms to heart center. Step the left foot back this time. Warrior one. Bring the arms all the way up. Super strong on the outer edge of the left foot. And again, checking in with the low back. Keep the tailbone tucked. Keep the right knee stacked over the right ankle. Beautiful. Inhale, look up. Exhale, palms to heart center. Inhale. Exhale, step forward into mountain pose. So now we're going fully into the flow, although we've done quite a bit of the flow here already. So from Tadasana, inhale, lift the shoulders up, exhale, bring them back and down, and bring the hands together behind you. When we do this pose, it's important to keep your palms together to protect your shoulders and your arms. If you have your strap handy and this is uncomfortable or your shoulders want to roll forward, just use the strap to keep your hands clasped behind you. Beautiful. So clasping the hands, inhale, look up, drive the knuckles down towards the ground, and make sure you're very grounded in your Tadasana feet. Exhale, we're going to engage the core, keep the knees a bit soft as you bring the arms up above your head into forward fold with the arms clasped behind your back. Again, keeping the palms together is going to help protect your shoulders, because if they're rounding forward, they're in hyperextension, and offering more room in the palms does just that. So keep them together or use the strap. Let the head hang. And breathe. And release the hands. Let them come all the way down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step it back. Optional vinyasa, or simply come into plank and then drop the knees. I like to transition with child's pose. So if you've taken a vinyasa to down dog, go ahead and drop the knees, come back into child's pose. Extended child's pose, bring your knees wide as the mat, toes together, arms long. Maybe bend through the elbows and bring the palms together up above your head. Walk the elbows forward just a bit. Nice shoulder opener, shoulder stretch. Beautiful. And then plant the hands and come back to tabletop. Check in with your alignment. Again, find the length in the spine from the tailbone through the shoulder blades and out the crown of the head. Chin is slightly tucked. Plant the left hand and inhale, bring the right arm up towards the ceiling. In this pose, it's important to keep your hips level and keep them from floating back or forward. So open on the inhale, and then exhale, bring the right hand behind the left wrist, and we drop the shoulder down to the mat. Drop the right cheek down to the mat, thread the needle. Find a little opening in the shoulder. If this is too much for you, you can have a block underneath your shoulder or a big blanket rather. And if you want a little more, you can walk the left hand forward towards the top of the mat, or inhale and lift the left hand. Exhale, drop it around the low back. Find a bind. And breathe. And plant the left hand. Inhale, right arm comes up for a little counter twist. Exhale, plant the right hand. Beautiful. Inhale, lift the left arm. Exhale, thread the needle. Left hand behind right wrist. You come down to the outer edge of the left shoulder, left cheek to the mat. Keep the hips aligned over the knees. And maybe walk the right arm towards the top of the mat or lift it on the inhale. Exhale, drop it behind the low back. And breathe and see where you can release, where you can make space. Sometimes in this pose, it's also nice to tuck the right toes and kick through the right calf. Lots of variations. Just listen to your body. Inhale, left arm up, plant the right hand, right arm up, plant the right hand. Inhale, left arm comes up. There we go. And exhale, find your tabletop. Beautiful. So from tabletop, we're going to walk our hands forward. Keep the hips aligned over the knees and just melt the heart space and the chin down to the mat for puppy pose. And it can help to have a bolster underneath the chest here, or a blanket, or something soft and supportive, especially as it's a big heart and shoulder opener. Beautiful. Go ahead and look towards your fingers. And I like to come through on the inhale into Sphinx pose after puppy. Stack the palms and let the forehead come down to the tops of your hands. Tuck your toes and just wiggle the hips back and forth to release the low back a bit. Beautiful. And then plant your hands underneath the armpit chest and bring the hips back for your child's pose. You can have your knees underneath you or wide with the big toes together. Whichever works for you. Again, just counteracting our back bends. Good. Go ahead and come to your tabletop. And if you have any back problems or you've had any back surgeries, these back bends are, of course, the kinds of things that you need to check in with your doctor about doing. But let's go into the next pose. Cool. So we'll come to tabletop, kick the left foot out so it's perpendicular to the mat. Left wrist is positioned underneath the left shoulder, and then bring the right foot parallel to the back of the mat, strong on the outer edge of the right foot. From here, inhale and lift the right arm up towards the ceiling, open the chest, and let the right hand float back behind you. Look towards the right fingertips for half circle pose. You should feel a big opening through the armpit chest and through the front of the hips, as well as a lift or strengthening in the low back and the hips on the left side. Beautiful. Go ahead and exhale, plant the right hand down, bring the feet to neutral tabletop, and then take a couple cat-cows. Inhale, exhale, just something to counteract that back bend. Again, if you just want to sink into child's pose, in between that works as well. Tuning in with your breath. Beautiful. Same thing, other side. So we'll kick the left foot back parallel with the mat and the right foot perpendicular with the mat. Inhale, lift the left arm up towards the ceiling and open the chest. Exhale, look towards the left fingertips. Half circle pose. And exhale, plant the left hand, plant the feet in neutral. Optional vinyasa here, but this is an interesting flow she has. Let's cross our feet, bring the sits bones back and down, and then just make your way to your back. We're going to go into fish pose or Matsyasana. It can be helpful to have a block to put underneath the shoulders and maybe a second one to put underneath the neck. Maybe I'll do a demonstration video for that. But for now, just come to your back. Bring the hands together like so. A little triangle, finger, index finger and thumbs together. but underneath your glutes. So index finger and thumbs are touching underneath your glutes, and they're basically weighing your hands down to the mat. And then inhale, lift your heart, keep your feet and your sits bones grounded, as well as your forearms. Your forearms are a big supporter here as you lift. And then drop the top of the head very lightly to the mat. Throat and heart are exposed in this pose, and you can also maybe engage the core, lift the legs up off the ground if that's comfortable for you. Keep lifting the chest, lifting the heart. Beautiful. And then go ahead and come back down. Bend the knees, maybe lift the hips and release the hands. Squeeze the knees up into the chest. Exhale. Bring the forehead towards the knees. Give yourself a hug. And bring the head back down, shoulders back down. Just rock side to side or take some knee circles. Anything in between these back bends to release the low back and support the low back. And to counter, you can squeeze the right leg into the chest and extend the left leg out if you like. In fact, let's do that. And I like to take a supine twist. So open the right arm, palm face down, exhale, guide the right knee over to the left. Maybe look out over the right fingertips. Keep the shoulders down. Inhale, right knee to center, squeeze the left knee up to meet it. One more hug, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Woo. Thank you, legs. And then clasp the left knee into the chest, extend the right leg. Toes flex in the right foot and the left, why not? Inhale, squeeze that knee up towards the armpit. And exhale, guide the left knee over to the right. Open the left arm and plant the hand palm face down. Look out over the fingertips if it's comfortable. And keep both your shoulders firmly grounded in the mat. Beautiful. Inhale to center. Squeeze the knees into the chest. Bring the hands behind the thighs. Begin to rock yourself back and forth if it's comfy. We're just going to make our way to seated. Beautiful. Cross the legs, plant the hands, come to your tabletop. And then from tabletop, with the knees hip distance apart, you can have a blanket underneath them if you'd like. Walk your hands up the legs and bring them to your hips. We're going to do camel pose, or a couple potential variations of camel pose. It's really hard. It can be really hard on the low back if you aren't keeping the lift in the heart center. So if you feel any pinching at all in the low back, just stop. So you can keep your hands here on your hips or place them on the low back for support. Open the chest, inhale, look up, and just find the lifting in the chest for this first little back bend. Beautiful. Exhale, come back to neutral and just notice. And then from here, next variation, we'll tuck our toes, lifting the heels up closer to the hands. So plant the hands again on your hips or on your low back. I like to bring my fingertips facing up or even palms together, but it's up to you. And again, lift in the chest, engage the core, open the shoulders, lift the chest up towards the ceiling. And this is how the back bend is initiated, from the lift, like a string is pulling the heart up towards the ceiling or the sky. Keep the core engaged. And if maybe your hands reach towards the heels comfortably here, go ahead and reach for them. Having a block behind you is also an option. And then just the last option, which I'd rather us go into just from the feet being down, is placing the feet down. So again, come to your neutral spine and take one more variation. Whatever variation works best for you, listen to your body with compassion. Inhale, open the chest, lift the heart space, and maybe the hands reach for the heels. Maybe drop the head back. Beautiful. Go ahead and come all the way up, and let's counter that beautiful back bend with another child's pose. This time, perhaps bring your knees together underneath you and bring the hands back towards the feet, knuckles facing down, palms face up. Beautiful. Go ahead and inhale and come back to tabletop. And from here, let's tuck our toes. Exhale into downward facing dog. Inhale, come back to plank. Exhale all the way down to the belly. On the inhale, keep the hands planted. Come up for cobra or bhujangasana. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. And let's lower down and just lift the hands up off the mat. Let them float here for just a moment. Elbows facing back. Beautiful. Plant the hands. Exhale. Come back into child's pose. Beautiful. Come back to tabletop. And actually, the next pose is a handstand. And I'd rather show you handstand how to get to like started. I'm not going to do a full handstand. I don't know that I can. So I like to place my feet right up against the wall and measure where my glutes are from the wall. Plant the hands right there. Beautiful. So that's a nice measurement of how you can begin to work your way up to handstand, build the core strength for that and the arm strength as well. Shoulders are going to be right over the wrists, and we're just going to walk the feet up the wall. So when your feet come sort of parallel with the wall, you're starting to get, oh, my wall's a little different. This is a window, so I actually have to like bring my hands in according to where the windowsill goes out to the window. There we go. All right. So of course, another variation of this practice is to just practice right up against a wall. Or here I have a windowsill, so I can just lift one leg and then the other. But one day, building the shoulder strength and the balance to lift both legs, as well as the core strength. For now, just holding. And holding with the feet perpendicular is going to build the low belly, abdominal strength as well. Beautiful. Go ahead and come down. Come back to your knees. Let's shake it out a moment, and we'll do rabbit pose. If you'd rather not do rabbit pose, you can do child's pose. But in rabbit pose, go ahead and tuck the chin towards the chest. And we're going to round, round, round. And if your head plants either within an inch of your knees or touches your knees, you can bring the hands to the feet and begin to lift the hips up off the ground and just find a nice little massage lightly on top of the head. Beautiful. Go ahead and halfway lift on your inhale. Nice flat back. And then come all the way up. Cross the legs or bring them to one side and come back to seated. We're going to go into wheel pose. And if you've never done this pose before, please look up tutorial videos on how to work your way up or have somebody there to help spot you. Who knows what they're doing? But if this is something you feel pretty confident about, let's go ahead. Plant your feet close to your glutes, palms face down, fingertips reaching towards your heels. So like setting up for bridge pose. And we can start by just doing a bridge. So inhaling, lifting the hips, coming up towards the ceiling. And if this is where you're at, this is where you are at, and it's beautiful. If your arms and shoulder strength are ready for it, plant the fingers, bring the fingers all the way up and curl them back towards your shoulders. Then plant the fingers by your ears. Your fingers will be facing towards the shoulders, and the wrists are going to be facing the back of the mat. Make sure that your elbows are facing up so you have nice alignment, you're not splaying out. And then plant the palms, inhale, push yourself up. Your heart space is open. We're lifting up out of the glutes, and maybe one day we walk our hands a little bit closer to our heels. Beautiful. Exhale, tuck the chin. Go ahead and come down one vertebra at a time, and then squeeze the knees into the chest. Bring the hands behind the hamstrings and rock yourself back and forth. Beautiful. Cross the legs, roll over the legs, plant the hands, and step back into plank pose. Exhale, come all the way down to the belly. Last couple of poses here. So inhale, lift the chest, and bring the elbows in front of you. We're going to bring the hands together in a V and plant the chin like so. So the elbows are in front of the shoulders and the chin rests in the hands. The tops of the feet are strong, and we're in Makarasana, crocodile pose. Let the shoulder blades melt towards each other and down away from the ears. Beautiful. Bring the hands out in front of you and the elbows underneath the shoulders. Once more for Sphinx pose. Then stack the hands. Maybe switch the dominant hand from the last time we stacked them, and place the forehead on tops of the hands. Tuck the toes, wiggle the hips back and forth. Releasing here. And we'll make our way to our very last pose. Plant the hands, and you can either cross the legs or bring them to one side to come to seated. From here, gently make your way down to your Shavasana. And in this Shavasana, she invites us to use a restorative pose. So if you want to put a bolster underneath your heart space to open it here, you can rest on a bolster with a blanket under your head. Or if you have blocks and you want to put them under your shoulders and your head, you can do so. Otherwise, there is nothing left to do. Notice your breath. Notice your body. Notice your mind and where it's gone. Bring it back. Soften the space between your eyebrows. Bring your tongue off the roof of your mouth. And as you inhale, bring light all the way down from the heavens or the sky or space, whatever it is you believe in, and imagine that lighting up your heart space. And imagine your heart space growing roots made of this light, and imagine these roots growing into the earth, all the way down to the center of the earth and grounding you by wrapping around the core of the earth. And whether you want to stay in this visualization or simply release it, release anything that has or has not happened today. Maybe recall your intention for practice. And with that, let go and surrender into Shavasana. When you're ready, maybe come back to your breath. Touch your thumbs to each of your fingertips. Wiggle your toes. Wiggle your feet and your hands. And bring your palms together at heart center. Rub them vigorously, generating warmth and prana that you've built during this practice. And take your hands and place them either on your eyes or on your heart space and your abdomen, respectively. And then bend your knees and plant your feet and allow your knees to fall to one side or the other and come into the fetal position. And when you're ready, push yourself up to seated. Thank you to all of you who joined me in this practice today. I hope it made you feel a little bit more open in your heart. The light in me sees and honors the light and the teacher in all of you. Namaste. All right, thank you everyone. Once again, this was an adaptation from Anodea Judith's Chakra Yoga. It wasn't quite the exact flow, and we took a couple of liberties, but if you'd like to check out her book, I'll put it in the description box below. Otherwise, thanks for being here. I'll see you all next time.